channel. Hear me out. I'm D.
I'm E.
And today we're going to be discussing with you guys one of our actually, I think it is our final Barbie-mania videos. Now,
I'm sad.
we saved this one for last because, well, we wanted to enjoy Barbie. We wanted to enjoy everything that was going on with Barbie. And then, once the train kind of started to depart, hit you with some facts. Hit you
Damn.
with some realness right here, just to like balance it, right? Because we're all about balance here at Hear Me Out. So one of the things that we had discussed early on about this whole Barbie mania was the fact that Barbie has in the past been problematic. Barbie has caused some issues. And in particular, especially given that we're women, one of the many things we have always known about are body issues. And in particular, what body issues Barbie has apparently created for young girls. So there was a Teen Vogue article that discussed a 2016 study. It was published by the journal Body Image, and it shows how playing with unrealistic proportioned Barbie dolls affects the body image of 6 to 8 year old girls. That's wild. Um, but the girls had more complaints about their own bodies than girls who played with dolls that had more realistic body proportions. If a real person had the body Barbie does, she would have to walk on all fours, according to Medical Daily, because her height, weight, and proportions are too disproportionate to actually stand. Wild. So researchers looked at two groups of girls ages 6 to 8. One group got either the traditional Barbie or a more full-figured Tracy doll, and the other group got four non Barbie dolls of various shapes and sizes. The dolls were either dressed in swimsuits or modest clothing. The study found that in both groups, the girls who had the super thin dolls had more dissatisfaction with their own bodies than the girls who played with the curvier dolls. This study doesn't mean that you have to, throw all your Barbies away, but it does mean that we have to make sure we know that Barbie's bodies aren't real or attainable. That was from a study that was done in 2016 and published in an article from Teen Vogue. So, what do we think about that?
I think that's a load of stuff. A load of
Oh,
shit. I'm gonna tell you why. Let me
oh,
tell
okay.
you in my Kevin Hart voice. I I played with Barbies all the time. I don't know because I grew up at a different time. I don't know how different things are.
Yeah,
I didn't grow up idolizing Barbies and
yeah.
looking at their proportions I just wanted to dress up the dolls, play with their hair, play
Mm-hmm.
house, have my mom come and play with me, and that's it. That's as deep as it got. The way, and I don't mean to offend, to each their own. The
Right.
way I feel like parents are giving Barbie or dolls all this power is ridiculous to me. Where's the parenting here? I think, or I can speak for myself, if I want a role model, I'm looking up to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom says, always look presentable. Ta-ta. I'm presentable. Comb your hair, speak in a certain fashion, this and that. So why are they giving Barbie all this power? I'm like, are
Right.
people walking around saying, oh, Cabbage Patch dolls did XYZ to my self-esteem? No.
Ooh.
So why this doll? Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's that deep.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I know initially Barbies were typically white dolls, blondes, things like that. I didn't have a problem playing with these kinds of dolls. Like, again, I had all different kinds of dolls. I didn't have a particular problem playing with white dolls. Now, I see that representation is important. It's, things that are important to me might not be important to somebody else. Somebody, let's say, that's I don't know, like on a thicker side, or somebody maybe like in a wheelchair, and seeing, them represented, I'm sure it's very empowering and something that they probably already need. just for themselves to see somebody else, and that's great. But I didn't initially see Barbie like that. Again, I feel like, did parents just leave their kids to play with dolls and form these thoughts and opinions and didn't have a conversation with their kids about, their body, or I don't even want to say sexuality, but like, just growing up and, how your body is, or, your complexion, or, things like your hair, because Barbies typically had straight hair back then. I've always had curly hair. I mean, to this day, I like straight hair, even though I have curly hair, because of its manageability, not because Barbie had straight hair. So I think that parents should hold themselves a little more accountable
Mhm.
for what their children are seeing and thinking, and having those conversations with them. I don't think it's necessarily Mattel's fault, Barbie's fault, or, things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I
Nobody was
didn't.
leaving a Cabbage Patch doll with their big old heads, and they were so heavy they fell on the floor. Go ahead, we're
um,
shit. It's ridiculous.
I didn't play with dolls. I was not a fan of Barbie. I was not a fan of Cabbage Patch dolls, Bratz dolls, none of that. Like, I mean, I was a weird kid, but that's just me. So I didn't really find any association with Barbie as far as body image or really anything. And I think because it's like maybe just knowing this does not look like me, this does not represent me, that kind of just maybe disconnected things for me.
Mhm.
I do remember that there was one doll, because of course, when you're a little girl, of course your parents and relatives or whoever, they're gonna buy you dolls thinking that's what you want for your birthday or whatever. So I had them. I just didn't really care for them. But one doll that I do remember that I actually would pick up from time to time, to like just like mess with her clothes or whatever, was actually a brunette Barbie. And it never really I never really cared about like blonde Barbie. I never really cared about, stereotypical Barbie or whatever. But like I feel like maybe with brunette Barbie I kind of like was cool with. I don't know. I don't have any recollection of like actually caring or playing with blonde Barbie. But the brunette one, yeah, it's like maybe that in some way I had a connection to because that was similar to me in a way because I'm brunette. But as far as the body image, I mean, no. Like Barbie was not proportionate, is not proportionate. Barbie didn't have, an actual female body as far as like in reality. Um so yeah, it was just very to me I was just disconnected from that. So I never had any concerns about, oh, I don't look like Barbie or I don't, like I don't know, it was never a thing for me. Um do I think that it is possible that, Barbies influence young girls? Yeah, definitely. But I think there's more factors to it. Like you mentioned, like the parents, like there's no way that they're just solely going based off of what they're seeing in this Barbie. There's other external factors, right? Maybe whatever they're seeing in school, their friends, on TV, because hello, like there's so much of that on TV. And these kids nowadays are on tablets. They are able to like see shows on YouTube and all these different things. And so yeah, there's also, the fact that their moms probably, if they're taking pictures, they're filtering them or they're photoshopping them. Like there's so many different things I think that play a role in it. And so just solely leaving it to, oh, it's a Barbie issue, I think is not the full picture.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. If anything gives us self esteem issues or body issues, it's just like when we start interacting with, going to middle school, and that now like your body's kind of like developing or
Right.
changing, and it's like, okay, now you're kind of uncomfortable in your skin, or
Yeah.
teasing, bullying. Sometimes your parents saying you're eating too many snacks, you're getting a little chubby. That could bring,
Yeah.
it could always be at the forefront of your mind, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So maybe it's Barbie coupled with something else. It's not Barbie solely the
Solely.
plastic doll giving
Yeah.
you body dysmorphia, body image, self-esteem issue, I think. Let us know what you
Yeah,
think.
definitely. But also like if you, I don't know, if you kind of like really think about it as well, I mean, Barbie, like it is just like it's a doll, it's a toy. It's like to me it just doesn't seem like there's like or that there should be such a huge link or correlation because it's like it's a toy just like other things.
Why are you giving
Um
us power?
right. And then I guess in a way it could be because they try to humanize Barbie by giving her her dream house, by giving her a car, by giving her a profession, by, doing these different things, different outfits, that maybe can kind of remind a child of what it's like for, a regular person. As far as like, again, with me, like I said, I wasn't affected. And like you mentioned, as far as like, our parents telling us, you're eating too many snacks or whatever, we grew up in Hispanic households. Nobody ranked on us more than our parents. Trust me. Like,
For real.
I'm not about to sit here and blame Barbie for any body issues I have, but I will sit here and blame my family. Sorry, love y'all, but it's true. I had relatives, when we would have parties who would refer to my sister as La Flaca, which means the skinny one. So where does that leave me, guys? If she's the skinny one, what do you think that means? I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. As a kid, I'm in middle school. I'm 11. I'm 12. My body is
Yeah.
changing. And I'm having these sort of interactions where I'm just discarded because my sister's the skinny one. They call my sister a singer that looks like, she's also super thin. They call my sister like a model and all these things. Where does that leave me, guys?
Hmm.
So my body image did not come from Barbie. It came from family. It came from relatives. It came from, people ranking on me for having, attributes that are now apparently what people get plastic surgery for because my behind's a little bit bigger, because my hips are a little bit bigger, like I'm a little bit on the thick side or whatever. I have large breasts. These things that people are now paying money for, I was criticized for as a child. That's where my body image comes from. My body image issues, not Barbie.
In the same token, I just want to bring up, or is there any studies that say, Mattel was ahead of its time? I think I read an article that said Barbie was an astronaut way before we even went to the moon.
That's crazy.
Barbie had all these professions that women typically didn't have.
Hmm.
And, Barbie started in like 1959. So, like,
Yeah.
in the 60s, 70s, why doesn't anybody say, Barbie inspired me to be XYZ?
Right.
Barbie, oh, wow, Barbie has her own dream house. I could have my own dream house one day.
Yeah.
Oh, Barbie's in the Supreme Court. Oh, I could be in the Supreme Court one day. Why aren't people saying the positive things also? Why are we
Yeah.
harping on the negative things?
Yeah. And actually one of the things that I found in the research that we were doing for this video is a scholar who was interviewed, and she kind of touches on some of the things that we're talking about. She kind of discusses some of the same things, and just in like how we discussed earlier about the diversity of Barbie and everything now, and just like girls or women in wheelchairs and seeing themselves reflected in a Barbie, like representation in those sorts of cases, they matter a lot. And even just like for me, someone who did not care to play with Barbies or whatever, I still had at least some like leaning towards a brunette Barbie, and that's something that honestly until yeah, and it's something that till this day I didn't even know. I didn't realize. I literally, as we've been recording, remembered that I didn't really have a memory of like me playing with Barbies because I didn't really like to. But
Hmm.
I can recall that there was a brunette Barbie that I actually liked, and maybe that was that correlation. So there is correlations. There is instances in which you can connect to a Barbie. You can connect
Okay.
to this thing, but not in this way. At least not for me. Not in this way.
Okay, I can see that, but it's not solely Barbie's fault. But let's see what this caller has to say. It says, to hear a scholar's assessment of Barbie's influence, Nature spoke to Jennifer Webb, a clinical health psychologist at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, who earlier this year published a study with the student Natalia Ford and another collaborator on Barbie's body image. And they said there's so much of the context that we're missing in these studies. We don't know about the other aspects of children's social environment, whether in the immediate home environment, at school, or other activities. For example, there's an interesting study that found a significant correlation between younger exposure to playing with a Barbie and a greater drive for thinness as a young adult. Now, again, we don't know all the things that could have contributed to that, but you might speculate, is playing with Barbies at a young age more associated with perhaps having caregivers or parents that are more in tune to their diet culture? How are these caregivers talking about their bodies? So we're really just scratching the surface. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nature nurture
Yeah.
kind of thing combination.
Yeah. And that was something that I found so intriguing when she mentioned about diet culture. You do have people who are very much in tune with their diets and making sure that, certain things are eaten properly. And the people that like have certain food allergies don't eat gluten, they don't eat, carbs or certain things. So there's so many factors, and that's definitely, I think, something
The
that needs to be taken account of.
fitness culture, how many times you
Yeah.
go to the gym and how do you look,
Hmm.
how muscular or how thin,
Yeah.
are you an endurance runner versus, more strength training. So, all these things could contribute to it. I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, it's one of the other things that the study that the scholar did, the clinician, was that like she was asked a couple of questions, of course, and I think they did something called made to move Barbies, even though they're more articulated and you can engage in more active play with them, particularly the first generation, were still focused on a particular body type, which was very thin. And what's interesting is that these young women did perceive that these dolls were a credible reference to compare themselves to. Our study was a little different relative to the other psychology research in this area because we were really focusing on Gen Z and millennial consumers, those who may be more exposed to Barbie digital marketing. So that's kind of like what I was thinking too. It's like, it's not just you playing with these Barbies, it's also what you're consuming. These kids nowadays, they're very much at an early age exposed to digital content. They're exposed to technology. Some of them already have phones by the age of 5, tablets, all these things, and you cannot 100% of the time control what they're seeing. So there's so much, I think, that is unfortunate, concerning this, because there's so many factors and we don't have, absolutely everything. The other final research that we did concerning the body image was actually from the NIH. They published a study in 2019, and they found that for generations of young girls, the Barbie doll has been a popular toy of choice. These dolls, however, have been critiqued for promoting unhealthy thinness and appearance based ideals. That is, Barbie is thought to represent the long-standing idealized female figure of beauty, and her body proportions have been identified as both unrealistic and unhealthy in the popular press and empirical papers. Though not all authors agree on Barbie's negative impact, Barbie dolls have been criticized for providing young girls with a tangible physique salient representation of unrealistic female body shapes. In fact, there are well documented negative body image effects related to exposure to Barbie, including a desire for thinness, and reduced body esteem and body satisfaction, higher body size discrepancy, thin ideal internalization, restrictive eating behavior. These results are troubling, of course, because reduced body esteem and an increased drive for thinness are indicators of body dissatisfaction. Body dissatisfaction can in turn act as a precursor to mental health outcomes such as clinical depression and eating disorders. Guys. And again, it's not just like the Barbie itself, but just all these other factors that kind of, aid in making people feel that this is the way to look. This is the way to be. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, for me, it wasn't a thing. I don't feel like there was a correlation for myself, a connection as far as my body image. But I can see, why some of these studies have these results so far.
Yeah, I mean, if some of the studies are saying it, then there must be something. But again, we will have to see what else is contributing to this.
Yeah.
Are parents also like projecting like their insecurities
Ooh,
to the kid?
right.
You
Yeah.
um are they grabbing that, and it's like, it's unconscious. So,
Yeah.
if I see, let's say, I don't know, my mom kind of like covering up all the time, then maybe I unconsciously start covering up, and then i
Yeah.
i associate it to being, some kind of way. So that would be, you know ultimately, I don't think Barbie should be blamed, but you guys tell me if, you know whatever in the comments. Maybe
Right.
we're wrong, maybe we're right, but I guess these are our experiences with these dolls.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I definitely think there is a correlation to an extent, but I believe there are external factors that play a role as well, and I don't think that most of the studies take account of that.
Hmm.
So, at the end of the day, whether it's exposure to Barbie or exposure to digital media, where I think we all play a role in how our daughters, our nieces, little girls really feel about themselves because of the things that are allowed by the adults. You can't blame a child for, how she feels about herself when she has to have gotten it from somewhere. It's not something that you just think like, oh, I want to be skinny.
Yeah,
A
so
kid doesn't think that.
if we're gonna blame, Barbie for all these things, then we need to blame Call of Duty for showing all this violence with guns for boys. We need to blame what else? Let's see, I don't know, rappers and whatever other celebrities
Yeah.
for promoting, let's say alcohol, drugs,
Right.
guns and whatever else. Like that, let's just place blame on everything and everyone. Like,
Yeah.
I think ultimately, we should just look introspectively, see what's happening here,
Yeah.
and not
Hmm.
have all these things play a role in, I guess, the way I feel or something. Where are the conversations?
Yeah, no. How about letting a toy just be a toy? Like, I don't know. Why push or place so much like, context into this toy? Like I don't know. I think it's a little bit mind-boggling. Like I said, I can see the correlations, but I think like it's a little bit of a reach if you're not, really accounting for all these other things. So definitely let us know if y'all agree, if y'all don't, and how Barbies maybe affected you guys. Did you feel any kind of way, like, or was it just not a factor like how it was, for us? I mean,
Mhm.
what exactly did Barbie ever do to you? Like,
Good way or a bad way.
right, for
You
sure.
were speaking from a Latina perspective, maybe other ethnicities, cultures, races, maybe they feel
Hmm.
a different way. So
Yes.
I would love to know, have a conversation in the comments. That's like my favorite thing, to talk to y'all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let us know what you think.
Hmm.
We're gonna cover, I don't know if the videos before or after this one, Bratz dolls and
Oof.
Kylie. So that should be another, doozy, as we
Right.
say. So I think that concludes this topic about Barbie and body image. Again, let us know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.